Greetings. I'm Dr. Candace Harris, President of the Howard University Alumni Association, and welcome to HUAA Nation. I have a very special guest today, Jordyn Allen. And Jordyn Allen is a senior marketing major from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and she serves as the 62nd Executive President of the Howard University Student Association. Go HUSA. Prior to serving as the HUSA President, Jordyn served as the youngest and only two-term chair of the Howard University Student Association Senate. Beyond student government, she is a passionate public speaker who lives by the motto, speak to inspire, speak to empower. Jordyn has received 16 national titles in speech and debate, including being named the NSDA Informative Speaking National Champion, the HBCU National Informative Speaking Champion, and the Harvard University Informative Speaking Champion. During her time at Howard, she has interned at Google, JPMorgan Chase and Company, Emerson Collective, National Crittenton, and the Honorable Former U.S. Senator and the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. On campus, Jordyn is a member of the HU Speech and Debate Team, the HU Florida Club, a student ambassador for admission, and she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Alpha Chapter. So welcome, Jordyn.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for having me. I'm so excited.
No, I have to say it that way, Jordyn. So let's get right into it. What is your Howard story?
Of course. So I grew up always coming to Howard. I was a part of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. And for some reason, everyone always wanted to come to Washington, D.C. And when we would always come to Howard. And so my experience on being on the campus started very, very young. But the reason I actually ended up choosing Howard is within Jack and Jill, there was always this HU versus HU debate, which I have obviously grown to be a part of. And I would see every year as students would graduate, it was which one was the real HU. And I really wanted to be a part of not only that debate, but also the community that I had realized had been created at Howard University from visiting and then also learning from the people who were in my community who were now going to Howard. And so the second reason that I chose Howard is the location is just absolutely phenomenal. And so those are really the two reasons why I chose Howard. When I first came to Howard, I was very interested in political science. So being at the number one HBCU period, we don't care what the rankings say, and also being in the nation's capital and the experience, the HBCU experience I was going to be able to get is why I ended up choosing Howard.
Awesome. And we already know there is no debate.
There's no
HU. We're the only. That's it.
Right.
Conversation over. So, how would you say, and you have to give us, let us know like what you're going to do, but how would you say Howard has prepared you for your career choice?
Yeah. So my parents are actually both Rattlers. So both of my parents went to Florida Agricultural Mechanical University.
Shout out to FAMU.
Shout out to FAMU. Go Rattlers. But two Rattlers produced two bison. I have a younger sister. Her name is Jordyn Allen. She's in her first year as a biology major. But my parents allowed us to pick our school of choice. But what they told us when we were making the decision was when corporations, companies, schools are looking to invest in people of color, specifically African Americans, they're going to HBCUs and not PWIs. And that really, really stuck with me. And when you ask the question, how Howard has prepared me for my career, that is the answer. Like my experience at Howard has been nothing short of my experiences that my parents told me I was going to have. So the internship opportunities, being able to grow and learn about my history and how that relates to how I navigate the workplace or even how I approach different situations to advocate for those who will come behind me has really changed my experience and prepared me for the workplace. And I'd also say the Howard hustle, right? A lot of people like to refer to the Howard hustle as the runaround, but I don't think that's what it is. I think that there is something that's learned at Howard where you'll hear oftentimes that a no is never a no. You can go somewhere to find a yes. And that's not to say that it's always my way or the highway, but I think that Howard has taught us that if you get a no, like you can somehow find a way to get 3/4 of it as a yes. And so I
Right.
think through that, they teach us how to negotiate. You may not always get what you want, but you can get a piece of it if you try and figure out how you can meet the other side. And so I think that that is really what Howard has taught me, is like, you never have to receive a no, but you won't always receive the yes as you'd like for it to be.
Absolutely. So we're presidents of our respective organizations, and I have had the absolute just pleasure and opportunity to get to know you, right? And some of your officers on the HUSA Dream Team. So, your term is wrapping up. How do you feel, about what your administration has been able to accomplish? Because I follow you guys on, IG. I'm like, man, they busy. I need to step my game up. So, um, how do you feel about what you guys have been able to do under your term?
I feel grateful and proud that we were able to accomplish so much in a year. I think we restored a lot of relationships with administration. We were able to build a lot of relationships, or stronger relationships that didn't exist before. For example, being able to partner with HUAA, the scholarships already existed. It was about how we can leverage that and bring it directly to students. And so I think from that, being able to restore and build relationships is something that has been so fulfilling. But I think what I'm most proud of that we've been able to accomplish is we've been able to inspire more people at Howard to become a part of student government. And that was always our goal. We ran a very untraditional campaign. We
Mhm.
didn't crack any deals with anyone. And so when we came to choosing directors and staff, it was strictly based off of merit and how you were going to show up each day to work for students. But also to create programming that was relevant, but also engaging where students would want to show up. And I think the people that you see come in and out of our office are not people who would have traditionally wanted to be a part of student government. And so I think creating a place where everyone on Howard's campus feels like they can be a part of conversations to create change is probably what I'm most proud of. Obviously, the new administration was just brought in, and one of the comments that the students who are in our current administration was making was, I just don't know if I'll ever see another administration where people like me would be here. And that's
Mm,
not to say that that won't happen for other administrations or the administration that comes next, but it just shows that before, a lot of people didn't feel like they could find a place in student government, and to know that even one person does now, that's what success means to me,
right.
about being more inclusive and allowing people to see the potential that they have in themselves. So
And that's so interesting. That HUAA and HUSA are very, parallel. That's something I talked about on my platform, Bison Engage, which talks about multi-generational engagement with
mhm.
alumni, as well as, making sure we are telling the story of all Bison. And that's why this particular, podcast platform we put together, we want to meet different people and talk about what we're doing. But it's we're not as different. We go through some of the same things. So I love that. So I said you're a senior,
Yes, ma'am.
a graduating senior. We gotta say it that
Graduate, big graduate.
way. And you're weeks away from graduation. And so I can call you an alum now. Well, I could call you an alum after year one, but technically you are an alum of Howard University. What's something you think you would do as a newly minted alum, um, that maybe us current, as old heads, OG, old Howard, should consider or think about when we are interacting um, with students?
I think something that I would consider as an alum that's leaving is the impact that you can have by coming back. I know a lot of the times the interactions that we have with alum are from homecoming, or when we start a new job and we're trying to connect with people who went to Howard, people who have similar interests. But I think that there's something different. There's a different experience for students as well as alum, if you have time to be able to come back to Howard and just walk in, interact with the student on the yard, right? because to see someone in real time and have a conversation with them on the yard, what their experiences were like, and to get that level of encouragement as a student, but also as alum, to come back and see, wow, Howard is still doing what Howard did for me. I think that it has an effect on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you come back as an alum and you're able to see the buildings that have been renovated, right? The different professors, the different deans that have been able to be brought in, I think that it also inspires you to want to give back. Because sometimes when we are not at Howard, we see how well Howard is doing, all the donations Howard is giving. We're a little removed from the inspiration factor to want to
Right.
give. And I think when you walk back on the campus, you see the students that are being impacted by the same institution that impacts you, that inspires you to still want to have a connection that's active with Howard. Because we have a lot of alum. It's not a Howard issue that love Howard University, but don't want to give back. And so I think the difference is when you're able to come back and see what Howard is producing, see how Howard has changed and the trajectory that it's on. I think as an alum, consistently coming back will always encourage me to be a part.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because, that's kind of how we met through, your connection with, Kathy Jerome, our secretary. Shout out to Kathy, who at the time used to be in South Florida. So that connection allowed you to say, hey, I want to reach out. We were able to we started early, in the summer, got to meet, your administration. And so this has been, very fruitful. And so I am excited that we were able to do our inaugural HUSA times HUAA micro scholarship partnership. And so we got a lot of applications.
No.
But we were happy that we could do these micro scholarships. And it just, again, it came from a conversation with you and your team and just saying, hey, what do you guys need from us? And so I'm glad that we were able to do that. And I'm hoping and I'm looking forward to working with you as an alum, but also working with the new students who are coming in as the new HUSA team. So I'm looking forward to that. But we want to make sure. And so what you're talking about is exactly what we need to be doing. And so I love that. So in that, our motto for Howard University is truth and service. And we know that's forever ingrained in every student who is fortunate to matriculate at Howard University. And so, how have you applied that model? We know you're giving back by being a student servant, but in other ways, how do you think you've applied that model in your life?
Yeah, so I think I would probably say within my work ethic, truth and service, I think that has really been ingrained in me during my time at Howard University. I was a hard worker before, but I think realizing that there are so many different ways to serve makes hard working so much more fulfilling. And I think Howard University has taught me, we would do our day of services, but it has taught me that serving people is bigger than going to do community service on day of service. It's how you treat people. It's through mentorship and making sure you're paving the way for those who come after you. And so that's kind of what truth and service means to me. And then the truth part is knowing the history. And that is really what I have taken away from Howard University, is the history of my ancestors that I wasn't learning before. And that understanding that truth is what fuels your desire to serve. And so for me, like even becoming involved in student government, I had learned so much about the history of student government at Howard, what had been done, and the gaps that needed to be made. And understanding the truth of what the reality was for our experience at the time where I had first joined the Senate, that is what inspired me to serve. There was so much work that needed to be done because there were so many things that I didn't agree with that were just fundamentally wrong that were happening in the past. And so I think understanding that and the willingness to fix it is what fueled my willingness to serve the Howard University community. And I think that's something that will stay with me as I graduate and go into the workforce.
Yes, graduate. You are so close. So our vision for HUAA this year is Bison Engage, and you are definitely doing that. But what should we be looking forward to from you in the future?
Yeah, so right after I graduate, I will be going to work for Google in the Austin, Texas office as a legal removals policy specialist. And shortly after that, I plan to go to law school. So my goal is to be a general counsel at a Fortune 500 company, but I also want to start my own NGO for fine arts and funding performing arts. I was a theater kid, and when I came to college, I decided that that wasn't something that I wanted to participate in more. But performing arts, theater, singing, dancing, and acting really gave me the confidence that I needed. It gave me the ability to be able to articulate my thoughts. And I think that those are skills that really change a child's life if they learn them at a young age. And so I want to create an NGO that essentially gives back to and funds performing arts programs for elementary and middle school students.
So that is awesome. Look at you. I mean, amazing. I mean, when I say Howard produces the best and the brightest, I mean, you already came in as the best and the brightest, but in terms of the shine when you come out, I'm so proud of you, Jordyn. And I am, like I said, I've had the absolute pleasure of getting to know you. And so, I'm going to be following you and seeing what you're doing. But speaking of following, where should people, in terms of finding out more information about HUSA, what's going on campus? If you want
Yeah.
people to follow you, where can we find out what's the haps, what's going on?
Of course. So, in order to follow HUSA Association, the Instagram is at HUSA SSOCIATION. So HUSA Association, but you don't double the A.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Like I said, it's been a pleasure. I hate that I missed you last week during Spring Fest. It was
Oh,
amazing.
it was
It was a
so
lot going
nice.
on.
It was so nice. And shout out to UGSA and Steven Spence. I know we always focus on the HUSA President, but there's a completely different branch that puts on all of the large scale programming on campus. So I had to shout him out to Dr. Harris.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. Like you said earlier, I felt nostalgic. Like when you're on the yard and it's like really more people really on the grass. Like that was the other thing. I was like, we didn't used to be on the grass like that. But really with like blankets and just out and food trucks. And it was just amazing. I tried to sneak into, well, I didn't sneak into it. I did get in. The City Girls
Wow, you're so lucky to know.
City Girls concert, but I was feeling a little long in the tooth, so I went home. But it looked wonderful. Again, congratulations to you. We will be following you and seeing all the stuff that you're going to be doing. And I guess I'll see you in a few weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations, class of 2023.
Thank you.
It's gonna go fast, girl.
I know. I'm trying to slow it down. I have 6 more days of academic school. So
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Jordyn.
thank you.